Thank you very much. Today I was removed from the House of Commons for telling the truth. And I was raised by a very strong woman who told me never to back down from the truth, and that's exactly what I'm doing. The Liberal government got up in the House of Commons and insinuated that Conservatives have been obstructionists when it comes to Bill C-21, that we are part of the problem. And they were talking about a sneaky letter written by Liberals, the Bloc Québécois and the NDP that Conservatives were not invited to participate in. And this is carried out in light of the Liberal government bringing forward the most underhanded amendment in the most underhanded way that is the largest ban of Canadian hunting rifles in the history of our country.
Yes. Right.
So again, they have banned the largest and the biggest and the most incredible change to impact everyday hunters. Millions of hunters will be impacted by what they've done, and they brought it forward at the 11th hour in the most sneaky and underhanded way. And for the past week, in partnership with the Bloc Québécois, the Liberals have filibustered and not allowed Conservatives to weigh into the debate at Public Safety Committee. And so today in the House, to hear a Liberal accusing us of being the problem, insinuating that we are obstructionist, is the most hypocritical thing I have heard in the 3 years that I've been elected as a member of Parliament. The most popular piece of feedback we get from our constituents is that the Liberal government does not answer questions, that they don't tell the truth. And so today we had enough of it, and I called them out for lying, which they did lie. And I will say it again out here, that they lied today in the House of Commons.
Ms. Andrew, can you clarify what exactly are you saying the Liberals did without informing the Conservatives? Can you just clarify what actually happened?
So the Liberal member who stood up and lied, he was talking about a letter written to the Public Safety Chair. And Conservatives were not informed of this. We were not invited to the table to discuss it. And so that was the Bloc and the NDP and the Liberals working together without the consent or knowledge of Conservatives. But then the Liberal gets up today and says that we're part of the problem, insinuating that we are being obstructionist. But we weren't even invited to participate in that 1064 letter. And the only reason they brought forward that 1064 letter is because the Liberals have so circumvented the democratic process of legislation that they're now scrambling, having heard from thousands of hunters from across the country how badly they screwed this up, how much of an impact this is going to have on everyday hunters and farmers and Indigenous hunters and wildlife conservationists. They're now realizing what they did. So now they're scrambling and backtracking and trying to get extra meetings for witnesses. They want 2 meetings for witnesses, and they expect 2 meetings. That's 4 hours of testimony to represent 2 million hunters in this country. And we're talking from the Yukon, Northwest Territories, Métis, First Nations, Inuit, BC, Manitoba. Every province, every region has its own experience in hunting culture. And they're expecting all of that representation to be done in 2 meetings. And they did this behind our back, without our consent, brought it to committee, and got up in the House of Commons today and lied about it, and said that we're part of the problem there, and that we're being obstructionist. And the only reason Canadians know about this is because Conservatives alerted Canada to what they were doing. The Liberals wanted to pass this amendment and all of their other amendments for Bill C-21 in 1 week. They wanted this done by Christmas time. The only reason that isn't being done, and the Liberals have so-called time to consult, is because of the hard work of the people behind me who've been at committee bringing their constituents' concerns to the table. That's the only reason that they have time to consult, is because of the work of Conservatives. And now it's not working out so well for them, so now they're cutting out Conservatives from the conversation and have filibustered all this week, so we haven't had an opportunity to speak at all for 2 committee meetings. So it is very clear that Conservatives are doing everything we can to do right by hunters in this country. This is an attack on the culture of hunting in this country that's centuries old. It's not given any dignity, no democratic process. They've circumvented it in the most underhanded way possible. So for them to get up in the House of Commons and say Conservatives are part of the problem when we're standing up for Canadian hunters, it is a lie.
So you're clear that you weren't informed of this proposal. I'm wondering now, do you support having more witnesses come to the committee to testify about these amendments and these changes as that letter proposes?
So what we would support is if they withdraw this altogether. And they can bring, exactly. And if they want to, they can go across the country and do the appropriate consultations that they should have done before they ever brought this forward.
Exactly.
And then if they bring it forward in a fully informed piece of legislation, which they have every right to do with the Bloc and NDP, I'm sure they'll get their support. The Bloc and NDP have been in lockstep with them on gun control. They can do that, and then we have that time to bring forward witnesses as appropriate in our process that happens every day in the House of Commons. The idea that now we would have to, or at the end stage of committee, that we're going to fit in 2 witness meetings is ridiculous and doesn't do justice, and frankly, it's offensive to all the witnesses that should be at the table. So if they want to agree maybe to 50 meetings so we can adequately consult, that the people deserve to be consulted, then maybe. But there's no way. They said they want 2, which is offensive.
I understand the principle of what you were saying about how the Liberal member categorized your comments, but I'm wondering, the House of Commons has very clear rules that say you cannot call a person a liar, even if they are lying. Are you prepared to withdraw those comments?
So I did withdraw. I immediately withdrew those comments when the speaker asked me to, and then he asked me to apologize. Not apologizing for speaking the truth.
That's right. Here.
Particularly the substance of the amendments. Are the Conservatives opposed to both the definition and the list? Does the party take issue with both of those elements, or is there one in particular?
Well, it's quite a complicated piece of legislation that they brought forward. That amendment is very complicated. Again, it's taken us 6 weeks just to understand the basics. You need to have almost a PhD in gun technicality just to understand this new definition, which is going to mean that your average hunter is going to become a criminal because he's not going to be able to understand what's going on here. We've had all of the politicians at the table for 3 weeks now, or 6 meetings, trying to understand the basics of this, and it's still unclear. So I would say that our issue is with the entire formulation of the amendment.
So both.
Yeah, and if I could say, I think you've all seen this list. So there's part 1 of the amendment, G4, and part 2, G46. So G46 is that very long list. A lot of those have been banned since the 1980s. The rest of them are from that OIC from May 2020 that they've since added to. And now they've also added another 480 to that original OIC that are brand new, that hunters are very upset about because many of their firearms are on there. What's not on that list is part of the part A of that amendment in G. That's the semi-automatic definition there, which encompasses thousands of models of firearms. Those aren't even on that list. We found that out officially today. So if that list is about this long, the real list is about this long.
Yeah.
So hunters haven't even seen the half of what the Liberals are trying to do today. So they want to talk about not working together and standing in the way. What are they doing to hunters that they brought forward a list about this long of their hunting rifles, and there's been no consultation? The only consultation they can refer to is from 2018 when they went to Toronto, Montreal, Vancouver, and Fredericton. That's who they consulted, apparently, when they were talking about banning hunting rifles. Not very democratic, in my opinion. So yes, the emotions are high right now, but I'm not going to apologize for speaking the truth when they lied blatantly in the House of Commons.
A definition of what would be an assault weapon that would be automatically banned. Why is that problematic rather than having this constant list updating, right? That's kind of the goal of having a definition. So what is wrong with having this definition?
Well, our leader, Pierre Poilievre, has been very clear. He does believe we need a new classification system, very much. That's clear. We need to bring people to the table, Indigenous hunters, firearms experts, competitive Olympic sport shooters, police and border agents, among other experts at the table, to once and for all make a clear classification system of what non-restricted, restricted, and prohibited are. Because clearly the Liberals have been playing politics with this now for almost 3 years. That has to come to an end. And so we would consult the experts on this and renew the classification system so that it finally makes sense and is fair to hunters and farmers and everyone else who uses these tools. So that's what we would do.
And do you support I'm going to screw up their acronym, CCFRA? They have the hashtag Poly. They also support your party. Your party is connected to them, are they not?
With their own independent organization. They're not connected to us in that regard.
Their concerns.
We champion the rights of lawful, tested, vetted, and respectable hunters, sport shooters, First Nations hunters. Those are who we champion. There are advocacy groups against, that are very